You know that feeling, right? That pressure to make something of yourself, to achieve something big, something lasting. It's like this constant weight on your shoulders telling you that you have to be successful, to climb higher and higher, to meet everyone's expectations, maybe even your own, and it never really goes away.
Oh, absolutely. It's this deep-seated human drive, this need to prove our worth, to leave our mark on the world. And today, we're going to explore that very pressure, that relentless pursuit of the American dream through the lens of a truly powerful and enduring piece of American theater, Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. We're going to really immerse ourselves in Act Two, where all the tension and the tragedy come to a head.
Exactly. We're focusing on Willy Loman, this aging traveling salesman who's starting to realize that the road he's been on, the path he's chosen, might be leading him nowhere. His career, his whole sense of identity is crumbling, and the validation he's so desperately seeking seems to be slipping further and further out of reach.
Mm.
And it's not just his work, it's his relationships with his sons, Biff and Happy, that are tangled up in all these unspoken resentments and unfulfilled expectations.
Act two is where it all really starts to unravel for Willie. He's caught between these fading echoes of his dreams and the harsh realities of his present, and it's this collision that drives him to these increasingly desperate and ultimately tragic actions. So our mission in this deep dive, The Learner, is to really get inside Willie's head, to understand his motivations, to trace the threads of his interactions with his family and his employer, and to ultimately see how all of these crucial moments propel the play toward its devastating conclusion.
Right. We'll be examining the immense pressures Willie's facing, those deep contradictions within his own beliefs, and that growing sense of disillusionment that his sons are experiencing as they try to navigate their own paths, their own identities, in the shadow of their father's overwhelming expectations.
It's a journey into the heart of the American dream, and it's often dark underbelly.
Okay, so Act Two opens with Willie actually having a good night's sleep, which sounds like a rare occurrence for him. And he's feeling this unexpected surge of optimism, especially about Biff's upcoming meeting with Bill Oliver, this successful businessman Biff used to work for. It's almost like a brief moment of calm before the storm.
Exactly. And Linda, Willie's wife, she's always so attuned to his emotional state, and she picks up on this shift immediately. She's encouraged by the fact that Biff and Happy are leaving the house together, even noticing that Biff has used shaving lotion. For her, these little details, these signs of normalcy, give her a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, things are finally starting to look up for them.
Willie seems genuinely buoyed by this, too. He's convinced that Biff is on the verge of achieving some great success, of solidifying himself in the business world. He even takes Biff wearing his blue suit as a good omen, a symbol of the potential he still sees in his son.
And here's where we start to see, the learner, how deeply intertwined Willie's hopes are with his own desires for his son's success. That blue suit, it becomes this loaded symbol for Willie, transforming Biff in his mind into this successful figure, the image of achievement that Willie so desperately needs him to be.
It's like he's projecting his own unfulfilled dreams onto Biff, right?
Exactly. And then, almost out of nowhere, Willie starts talking about buying seeds for a garden, envisioning this idyllic move to the country, a simpler life with chickens, a guest house for his married sons. It's this sudden shift to this peaceful, almost pastoral ideal. Does that strike you as maybe a form of escape for him, a retreat from the pressures he's facing in the city?
I think it absolutely does. It feels like he's yearning for something tangible, something he can control, something that grows and flourishes, unlike the fleeting nature of sales and this constant pressure to perform, to prove your worth in this cutthroat world.
That's a really insightful point. It's like he's searching for a way to ground himself, to reconnect with something real and natural amidst the anxieties of his professional life. Have you ever felt that pull, the learner? When the pressures of modern life become overwhelming, that longing for a simpler existence, a return to basics.
Oh, absolutely. It's a universal human need, I think. That desire to nurture something, to see the fruits of your labor in a direct and tangible way. But this cheerful morning takes a sharp turn when Linda brings up the overdue insurance premium. And it's not a small amount either, over $100, and they're already in the grace period.
And then she mentions the car repairs, the constantly breaking refrigerator with one more payment left on it, and of course that looming mortgage nearing its final payment after 25 years of struggle. This is a significant detail, isn't it, the learner?
It is. The house, this symbol of the American dream, this tangible achievement they've been working towards for so long, is almost completely theirs. Yet Willie doesn't seem to find any real joy in that. It's almost like the weight of all those years of struggle has just overshadowed the prospect of finally owning it outright.
It's like he's unable to really appreciate the present because he's so consumed by these anxieties about the future, these fears of falling behind, of becoming irrelevant. And this leads him into this whole rant about the planned obsolescence of appliances, comparing his constantly failing Hastings refrigerator to Charlie's old, reliable General Electric. It's almost comical, but there's this underlying frustration in his voice, like he feels cheated somehow.
Yeah, like he's invested in all these things that are designed to break down, to need replacing, and it's just another example of how he feels like the world is rigged against him.
Exactly. And I think it reflects this deeper fear he has of becoming obsolete himself, of being discarded by the very system he's dedicated his life to. It makes you wonder, the learner, if you've ever felt that same sense of frustration, like you're constantly chasing the next new thing, only to have it break down or become outdated, leaving you with this empty feeling of dissatisfaction.
It's a pretty relatable feeling in today's world, that constant pressure to upgrade, to
Mhm.
keep up with the latest trends, to never be satisfied with what you have.
Absolutely. And Linda, bless her heart, she tries to steer him back to the positive, reminding him that soon the house will finally be theirs, free and clear of any debt. But Willie's response, it's almost flat, devoid of any real joy. He's too preoccupied with his immediate anxieties to fully embrace the significance of this long-term achievement.
It's like he can't allow himself to feel any sense of accomplishment because he's so fixated on what he still lacks,
Hmm.
what he hasn't achieved.
Exactly. And then Linda drops a little surprise. Biff and Happy are taking him out for a big meal at Frank's Chop House that evening. It sounds like a genuine attempt to show their appreciation and maybe even to share some good news, although, as we know, Biff's news is far from celebratory.
Right. But for Willie, in that moment, this dinner is a huge boost to his ego, a sign that maybe, just maybe, his sons still value him and his efforts, and it re-energizes him completely.
It's like this flicker of hope that allows him to cling to this belief that things might actually be turning around.
He suddenly thinks this dinner means he can go and knock Howard for a loop, his boss, and finally secure that stable job in New York with an advance. He even declares he'll never drive again, which sounds like a huge weight lifted off his shoulders.
This is a big statement for Willie. It signifies his deep-seated desire for stability, for a job that doesn't involve the constant pressure of travel and the uncertainty of commissions. He wants something predictable, something he can rely on, something that will validate his years of hard work. And Linda, she picks up on this positive shift in his mood immediately. She's clinging to this hope that maybe, just maybe, things are finally going to be okay.
But then, as Willie's getting ready to leave, there's these small, almost tender moments. Linda making sure he has his glasses, his handkerchief, even his saccharin for his coffee. And she cautions him about the subway stairs, like he's suddenly become so fragile.
These are such poignant details, aren't they?
Yeah.
It really highlights Linda's unwavering support, her deep concern for his well-being, even as he's pushing her away, dismissing her concerns. But they also subtly underscore Willie's increasing dependence and vulnerability, despite that bravado he often tries to project. It's a reminder, the learner, of the quiet strength and the unwavering care that so often hold families together, even when they're facing immense pressure.
It's true. And then there's that really telling detail, Willie's almost irrational aversion to Linda mending stockings while he's home. He says it makes him nervous, but it seems like such a strange thing to bother him.
Right. It seems small, almost insignificant, but Miller, the playwright, he's brilliant with these small details. They're always loaded with symbolic meaning. That mending of stockings, it becomes a recurring motif in the play, and later on, it connects directly to Willie's affair in Boston, the secret that Biff discovers, which really shatters their relationship.
It becomes this visual trigger of Willie's guilt and the underlying fracture in his family.
Exactly. And it's a reminder, the learner, that even these seemingly minor details in our lives can carry immense emotional weight, even if we're not fully aware of it at the time.
And Willie's last thought before he leaves the house, whether beets would grow in their yard. That image of the garden keeps coming back, this yearning for something simpler, something more grounded.
It does. It's a persistent desire, a quiet counterpoint to all the anxieties and the pressures of his professional life. It's like he's searching for solace in this simple act of planting something and watching it grow. And Linda's parting words to him, be careful, they resonate with such a tragic irony given what we know is about to unfold.
Right. Almost like a premonition.
It is. And then we shift to Linda, alone in the kitchen, and she's on the phone with Biff, and you can just feel this wave of relief wash over her when she realizes he's called.
It's like a weight has lifted, even for a moment. She's so genuinely happy to hear from him, to know he's okay.
Absolutely. And their conversation is filled with a mother's hope and concern. She confirms that Willie knows about the dinner, and then she excitedly reveals that the rubber pipe is gone. It's a small detail to learner, but it speaks volumes about the level of despair that this family has been living with.
Right, that rubber pipe. We learned earlier in the play that it was most likely used for Willie's previous suicide attempts. So when Linda says it's gone, her initial hope is that Willie himself has decided to get rid of it. Maybe he's finally turning a corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then she finds out that Biff was the one who took it away. And while there's still a sense of relief that it's gone, that underlying worry about Willie's profound despair, it lingers.
It does. And her optimism about Willie's improved spirits, comparing it to the old days, it feels a bit bittersweet. Because we, as the audience, we know that those old days weren't always as rosy as she remembers. They were often built on this foundation of self-deception, of Willie inflating his own achievements and grasping over his failures.
Exactly. And then she asks Biff quite pointedly if he actually met with Mr. Oliver, the man he was supposed to see about that potential business opportunity. This meeting, it seems crucial, not just for Biff's future, but for the entire family's hopes.
And then there's all this motherly advice. Make a good impression, don't perspire too much, be nice to your father. It's like she's trying to manage both of their fragile hopes and Willie's increasingly precarious emotional state.
She's desperately trying to hold everything together, to smooth over the cracks, to protect Willie from any further disappointment. And then comes that incredibly poignant line, her description of Willie as only a little boat looking for a harbor.
It's such a powerful image, isn't it? So vulnerable, so lost.
It is. It perfectly captures Willie's fragility, his desperate need for security, for a sense of belonging, for a place to finally anchor himself after all these years of being tossed about by the harsh realities of life, by the changing times. And her hope, her desperate hope, is that Biff will somehow be that harbor for him, that he'll be the one to save his life.
She even asked Biff to physically show affection, to put his arm around Willie, to smile at him in the restaurant. She's practically pleading with him to offer Willie that validation, that love that he so desperately craves.
She's trying to orchestrate a moment of genuine connection, to bridge the gap between them, to remind Biff of the importance of those simple acts of love and kindness. And it makes you wonder, the learner, about the power of those small gestures.
It does. It makes you think about the impact we can have on the people around us with just a simple touch, a genuine smile, a heartfelt expression of care.
Absolutely. And even her final little reminders to Biff, you got your cum. They speak to this deep desire for everything to be perfect, for Biff to present himself in a way that will please Willie and perhaps even contribute to his hoped-for success. But then the scene shifts so abruptly to Willie's confrontation with his boss, Howard, and the contrast is just jarring. Howard is completely consumed by this new wire recording machine.
It's like this symbol of the changing times, this new technology that Willie just doesn't understand and can't really relate to.
Exactly. And it highlights this generational divide. Howard, representing the younger generation in this evolving business world, is fascinated by these gadgets, by the novelty of it all, completely oblivious to the very real human drama unfolding in front of him. He's more interested in capturing the sounds of his children's voices than in really listening to Willie's desperate pleas for help.
Have you ever experienced that disconnect, the learner, where someone is so caught up in their own little world that they're completely unaware of yours, of the real struggles you might be facing?
It's a sadly relatable feeling, isn't it? That sense of invisibility. And Willie, he tries repeatedly to talk to Howard about wanting a job in town, emphasizing that he just can't handle the constant travel anymore.
But Howard is completely engrossed in playing these recordings, his daughter whistling, his son reciting state capitals, even his wife awkwardly trying to sing into the microphone. It's almost comical in its insensitivity.
It is, and it's a brilliant juxtaposition, isn't it? These sounds, these snippets of everyday life, meant to be these precious family moments, they're ironically juxtaposed with Willie's profound and very real struggle. It highlights Howard's emotional detachment, his complete lack of empathy for Willie's situation.
It's like he's speaking a different language,
Yeah.
and Howard just doesn't understand it.
Right, and Willie, he tries to connect with Howard, to appeal to his sense of loyalty, to remind him of their shared history, mentioning how he knew Howard's father, how he even had an opinion on the name Howard. But it all falls on deaf ears.
It does. It's like those personal connections, those relationships that Willie has always valued and relied on in his career. They just don't matter anymore in this new, more cutthroat business world.
Exactly. It's all about the bottom line now. 34 years of dedicated service to the firm, it means nothing to Howard in the face of profit margins and efficiency reports.
It's a pretty bleak reality, isn't it?
It is, and it leads to Willy's request becoming increasingly desperate. It's this painful descent as he goes from asking for any spot to a specific salary to a lower salary, and then even lower still. It really lays bare his desperation.
It's like he's willing to accept any crumbs they throw his way just to hold on to some semblance of his job, his identity.
Exactly. And Howard's response, his repeated mantra of business is business and the need for everyone to pull his own weight, it really underscores that cold, impersonal reality of corporate America. Have you ever felt that pressure, the learner, to constantly prove your worth, to justify your existence in a system that often feels indifferent to your individual struggles?
Oh, absolutely. It's a pretty common experience, I think, in today's world. And it's in this moment of desperation that Willie shares this story about Dave Singelman, this legendary 84-year-old salesman who made a good living simply by phone from his hotel room. This story, it seems to be at the heart of Willie's entire philosophy about sales, about success.
It is. It's the foundation of his belief that being well-liked, being remembered and loved, is the key to achieving lasting success in sales. Dave Singelman becomes this idealized figure representing a time when relationships and reputation were everything, a time that Willie desperately clings to.
And he contrasts that idealized image with the present reality, where he feels completely anonymous, like just another cog in the machine where everything is cut and dried, and there's no room for personality, for those personal connections that he's always valued.
He feels like the rules have changed, and the very qualities that he built his career on, his charm, his ability to connect with people on a personal level, they're no longer relevant in this new, more transactional business world. He's almost like a relic from a bygone era. Have you ever felt that way, the learner, like the skills and approaches that once served you well are no longer valued in the same way?
Absolutely. It's a common fear, especially in a world that's constantly evolving, constantly demanding new adaptations.
It is. And as Willie's desperation grows, he even starts mentioning promises made by Howard's father regarding his future with the firm, even bringing up his inability to pay his insurance premiums. It's like he's trying to leverage any advantage he can find, even invoking the memory of Howard's father.
He's trying to appeal to a sense of loyalty, of obligation, to this idea that the company's like a family where they take care of their own. But Howard just shuts him down completely.
He does. And then comes that incredibly raw outburst from Willie. You can't eat the orange and throw the peel away. A man is not a piece of fruit. It's such a visceral expression of his feeling of being used and then discarded once he's no longer seen as useful.
It's a really powerful metaphor. It encapsulates his sense of dehumanization, his feeling of being reduced to just another cog in the machine, valued only for his immediate productivity.
It is, and it makes you wonder, the learner, about how we value people in our own lives, in our own workplaces, in our own society, right?
Yeah.
Do we treat people as individuals with unique needs and aspirations, or do we reduce them to their roles, their functions, their outputs?
It's a question worth asking ourselves, that's for sure.
It is. And Willie, in this moment of utter desperation, even brings up his most successful year back in 1928, rattling off his impressive weekly earnings, as if to remind Howard of who he once was, what he was capable of achieving. But it's all in the past, and Howard, he's completely dismissive.
Yeah, he just tells Willie to pull himself together and then abruptly exits the office, leaving Willie alone, completely defeated, berating himself for yelling at Howard.
It's this tragic cycle we see with Willie, this outburst of frustration followed by immediate self-blame. He never seems to allow himself to fully process his emotions or to acknowledge the legitimate reasons for his anger.
And then there's this almost surreal moment where he accidentally activates Howard's wire recorder. And that innocent voice of Howard's son reciting state capitals fills the room, startling Willie. It's so out of place and almost mocking in this context.
It is, and it emphasizes this disconnect between Willie's internal world, his emotional turmoil, and the seemingly oblivious world around him. It's like his own voice, his own story, is being drowned out by the mundane sounds of modern life.
And then Howard returns, annoyed by the interruption, and coldly fires Willie, suggesting that he needs a good long rest and maybe to come back later to see if anything opens up. It sounds so insincere.
It does. It's a hollow gesture, a way for Howard to wash his hands of the situation without taking any real responsibility for Willie's years of dedicated service. And he even suggests that Willie ask his sons for help, completely dismissing Willie's earlier mention of their supposed big deal.
He has no idea about the pressure he's putting on Willie to maintain this facade of success, especially with those fabricated images of Biff's achievements.
Right. And Howard ends the conversation with a final, meaningless gesture telling Willie to drop off his samples. It's almost an insult at this point, adding insult to injury.
It is. It's like this final bureaucratic formality that just underscores the impersonal and ultimately dismissive nature of his firing. And it's at this point, as Willie's reeling from this devastating blow, that his deceased brother, Ben, reappears in one of his fantasy sequences.
This is a recurring motif in the play, these moments where Willie retreats into his idealized memories, his fantasies, as a way to escape the harsh realities of his present life.
Right. And Ben, he always represented this alluring image of success and adventure, of striking it rich in Alaska. It's a stark contrast to Willie's own struggles in the urban jungle of sales.
Exactly. And it's important to note, the learner, that Ben is a figment of Willie's imagination, a symbol of the path not taken, of the opportunities Willie believes he missed out on.
So Willie, desperate for answers, turns to Ben for guidance, asking him, what's the answer? He sees Ben as holding this key to unlocking some secret to success that's eluded him his entire life.
He's searching for a shortcut, a magic formula, a quick fix to all the problems he's facing.
And Ben, ever the opportunist, mentions his timberland in Alaska, suggesting that Willie could come and look after it. It's an offer that clearly appeals to Willie's longing for a simpler life, for a fresh start, for a way to escape the pressures of the city.
It's a seductive vision, isn't it? That image of the vast Alaskan wilderness, this unspoiled land of opportunity, a stark contrast to the crowded, competitive, and often unforgiving world of urban sales.
Ben even contrasts those opportunities with the burdens of city life, the talk and time payments and courts of law, painting Alaska as this almost mythical land of pure potential.
And it reinforces Willie's romanticized view of the past, his belief that there was a time when success was easier to achieve, when it was based on hard work and initiative rather than on connections and social maneuvering.
It's like he's yearning for a time that never really existed, a simpler, more straightforward path to success.
Exactly. And then Linda, unexpectedly, enters this fantasy sequence, clearly surprised to see Ben. It's like a brief intrusion of reality into Willie's imagined world.
And it immediately creates tension.
It does. Linda represents Willie's existing life, his responsibilities, his commitments. She's a grounding force, a reminder of the life he's built, the family he has, even if it falls far short of his idealized vision.
Willie, still caught up in his excitement, excitedly shares Ben's proposition with her, eager to embrace this new dream as a way to finally achieve the success he's always craved and to provide a better future for Biff and Happy.
He sees it as a chance to rewrite his narrative, to escape the failures of his past, and to create this new legacy for himself and his sons.
But Linda, she's not convinced. She insists that Willie has a good job, that they're doing well enough, clinging to a very different perception of their reality.
She's trying to hold on to the life they've built, to find contentment in the present, even if it falls short of Willie's grand ambitions.
And then Ben, ever the pragmatist, even in Willie's fantasy, asks that cutting question. Enough for what, my dear? It really forces the issue, doesn't it?
It does. It cuts to the heart of Willie's deep-seated dissatisfaction, his relentless pursuit of something more, something that always seems just out of reach.
Linda, clearly frustrated by Ben's presence, wants Willie to be happy right here, right now, not in some distant, uncertain future. She's scared of losing him to these fantasies.
She sees Ben as a disruptive force, a temptation leading Willie away from his responsibilities, from the life they've built together.
She even brings up old man Wagner's supposed praise of Willie and his supposedly promising future with the firm, clinging to these reassurances from the past.
She's trying to convince herself as much as Willie, trying to believe that his years of hard work haven't been in vain, that there's still hope for a brighter future.
But Willie, he can't shake that feeling of emptiness, of not having truly achieved anything lasting. He tries to convince himself and Linda that he's still building something with the firm, but his voice lacks conviction.
It does. And then Ben delivers this devastating challenge. What are you building? Lay your hand on it. Where is it? It's a question that exposes the hollowness of Willie's professional life.
It's like he's finally forced to confront the fact that after all these years of hard work, he has nothing tangible to show for it, no real security, no lasting achievement that he can point to.
And Willie,
Yeah.
he has to admit it. That's true, Linda. There's nothing. It's a brief but crucial moment of honesty, of self-awareness.
But it's fleeting.
It is. He immediately reverts back to that story about the 84-year-old salesman clinging to that idealized image of success and respect in old age, desperately trying to convince himself that he's still on the right path.
It's like he can't handle the weight of that truth, the realization that his entire life's work might have been for nothing.
Exactly. And as Ben prepares to depart from this fantasy sequence, Willie's focus shifts to his sons, particularly to Biff in his high school glory days. He starts reminiscing about Biff's incredible potential, about how everyone loved him, about how he could have had scholarships to any university he wanted.
He even says something about how the whole wealth of Alaska passes over the lunch table at the Commodore Hotel, emphasizing this idea that success is all about making the right connections, being well-liked, being charming.
It's this very superficial and ultimately flawed view of how the world works, this belief that success is based on
And Ben's parting words, that repeated line, "There's a new continent at your doorstep, William. You could walk out rich." Rich! It's like a siren song, tempting Willie with this vision of quick and easy wealth, a shortcut to the success he feels he's been denied.
And it reinforces Willie's belief that there's always a better option out there, a chance to escape his current reality and achieve something truly remarkable.
But then we're brought back to reality, to this flashback scene with Willie, Biff, and Happy, just before that crucial football game. It's filled with this youthful energy and optimism, a stark contrast to the despair and disillusionment we've been witnessing in the present day.
It is. It's a reminder of a time when everything seemed possible, when their dreams felt attainable, when the future was filled with promise.
Bernard, their neighbor's son, rushes in, worried that they've already left for Ebbets Field where the game's being played. And there's this almost comical squabble between Bernard and Happy over who gets to carry Biff's helmet, highlighting Bernard's eagerness to be involved, to be part of Biff's moment of glory.
It's like he worships Biff, idolizes him, while Happy, he's more nonchalant, taking his brother's athletic prowess for granted.
And Willie, he returns with these pennants, practically bursting with excitement, asking if Biff is all set for this big game, the all-scholastic championship team of the city of New York. It's a big deal for him.
It is. For Willie, this game is more than just a sporting event. It's a validation of his parenting, a guarantee in his mind of Biff's future success.
It's like his entire sense of worth is tied to Biff's performance on that field.
Exactly. And when Biff promises that his touchdown will be for Willie, it just fuels that delusion even further.
And then Charlie enters, completely oblivious to the monumental importance of this day for Willie, wanting to just shoot some casino with him.
Yeah.
Willie's reaction is almost violent. He can't believe that Charlie doesn't understand the significance of this day, this game.
Charlie, he represents this grounded, pragmatic perspective on life, and his lack of awareness about the game's significance just throws Willie's overly inflated expectations into even sharper relief.
It's like they're living in completely different realities.
They are. And then Charlie, he makes this throwaway joke about Ebbets Field just blowing up, and Willie harks it completely seriously, emphasizing that this is the greatest day of his life.
It's like he's incapable of even recognizing humor in this context. He's so wound up, so invested in this one event.
Exactly. And Charlie, with his usual bluntness, asks him, Willie, when are you going to grow up? It's a pretty direct and honest assessment of Willie's persistent immaturity and his reliance on these unrealistic dreams.
And Willie, completely lost in his own delusional world, declares that Biff is going to be another Red Grange earning a fortune. And when Charlie feigns ignorance, asking, "Who is Red Grange?" it triggers this almost violent reaction from Willie. It's actually quite scary.
It is. It shows the fragility of Willie's mental state and how easily he's triggered by anything that threatens his idealized vision of Biff's future.
And the scene ends with Willie off stage, ranting to himself, imagining Biff's glorious touchdown and the roar of the crowd, completely detached from reality. It's a pretty tragic image.
It is. It highlights Willie's increasing reliance on these fantasies to escape the pain of his present life.
And then we jump forward in time to Willie's later encounter with Bernard at Charlie's office. The contrast between Willie's earlier energetic state and his current disorientation is striking. He's just muttering to himself about touchdowns, clearly lost in his own thoughts.
It's a stark reminder of the toll that time and disappointment have taken on him. His mind is starting to unravel.
Jenny, Charlie's secretary, is clearly distressed by Willie's frequent visits, pleading with Bernard to see him.
It suggests that Willie's behavior has become increasingly erratic, and he's becoming a burden to those around him.
In Willie, he tries to put on this cheerful facade, greeting Jenny with this forced joviality. But it's clear that he's struggling.
He's trying to mask his inner turmoil to pretend that everything's okay, but it's a thin veil.
But then he sees Bernard, all grown up now, successful, about to go to Washington, D.C. for a legal case. And there's this genuine warmth in Willie's voice when he greets him. It's like he's genuinely happy to see him.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because Bernard represents everything that Willie wanted for Biff. Academic success, a stable career, a seemingly bright future.
It's like he's seeing a reflection of what could have been, a reminder of his own son's failures.
Exactly. And then almost immediately, Willie launches into this boast about Biff working on this very big deal with Bill Oliver, still clinging to this fabricated narrative of his son's success, even though we know it's a lie.
It's like he can't let go of that fantasy, that hope that Biff is going to achieve everything he never did.
And Bernard, bless.